All right, good morning, guys. So today we are doing lesson 8-2. That is on sequences and equations. So go ahead and open up your textbook to page 401. Page 401. The homework that you guys are going to be doing is page 403, 1 through 20 all. 1 through 20 all. So sequences and equations. Sequences and equations. We have 4 new vocab words. So first off, we have a sequence, which is an ordered list of numbers. A term, that is just a number that is within a sequence. We have an arithmetic sequence. So when the difference between any two consecutive terms is the same, that is called an arithmetic sequence. And then the difference is called the common difference. All right. So those are all pretty basic terms there. So let's go ahead and dive into example number 1. Okay, so for example 1 on page 401, we have our sequence is 6, 7, 8, 9. So first off, I need to write down my terms under the term section right here. So we have, I'm gonna turn off my video because I'm gonna just keep turning away to write down. Go. So for term, we have 6, then we have 7, then we have 8, and then we have 9. So 6 is my first term, 7 is my second term, 8 is my third term, and 9 is my fourth term. So the difference of term numbers is going to be only 1. My difference of term numbers is plus 1. 1 to 2, 2 to 3 is plus 1, 3 to 4, that's also plus 1. Now, when I'm going for my term, 6 to 7, that's plus 1. Getting from 7 to 8, adding by 1. And then from 8 to 9, also adding by 1. So the terms have a common difference of 1. So that means when I need to write out my equation is going to be, just erased here. So I'm going to have t, which is my term, equals, so t is my term, equals n, which is my term number, so the numbers here on this row, plus 5. Now, why is it 5? That's because it is any number that it's going to be one number less than 6. Okay, so t, which is our term, equals n, which is our term number, plus 5. So if I was to plug in 1 for my term number, plus 5, that's going to equal 6. So that would mean, so that was this column right there. If I were to plug in 2, for example, so for this column, I would plug in 2 for n, and 2 plus 5 equals 7. So that's how I know this would be true. I'm sure you're wondering, what if I were to plug in 0? Well, that is not on my list here. If I were to plug in 0, my term would just be 0 plus 5 is 5. Okay, so that is example 1, letter A. So let's try letter B now. Letter B. Letter B is a little bit different in the fact that it is working with multiplication. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16, so on and so forth. Draw my same little chart. I have my term number, also known as n, as in Nike. Then we have our term, our actual term number that they give us. So first, we have 4, 8, 12, 16. So I'm just translating the 4 to here, the 8 right there, the 12 right there, 16 right there. Term number, that's just going to be the number of them in order. So the first term was 4, second term was 8, third term was 12, fourth term was 16. All right, that's easy enough. So now I need to figure out what is my sequence using words and symbols. So t is what we're solving for. That's our term. That's our term. So I need, one thing I can think about is my number 4 right here. So with multiplication or division, you are always going to be starting with this number. So 4, and then I have a 1 right there. So how am I going to make it equal? I need to say 4 times n. 4 times 1. So when I plug this in, 4 times 1 equals 4, which equals my term. If I plug in this section now, this section, I would have to do 4 times 2, 4 times 2, which is going to be 8, which equals my term right there. If I plug in 3, plug it in right there, 4 times 3 equals 12, which is my answer right there. I'll do the last one just so it's not left out. Take that 4, plug it in for n, 4 times 4 equals 16. All right, so that's how you would do multiplication. All right, so let's move on to example 2 on the next page. And thank goodness we only have 3 examples. All right, so here's where we're getting into some of the fun stuff. First off, we have the exact same problem with example 2 on page 402. It wants us to write the equation for this. So as we can see, as I go from 7 to 10, the only way I can get there is by adding 3. From 10 to 13, I'm adding by 3. 13 to 16, guess what? I'm also adding by 3. All right, so how am I going to write out my equation? Well, I know that I have 3 is the number that I am increasing by. So that means I need to say 3 times n plus 4. Now, why did I do plus 4? Well, I need my answer to equal 7. I need my answer to equal 7. So if I were to do 3 times n, which is 1, plus 4, that's going to equal 7. So I showed this in a much more simplified version rather than drawing out the chart. So let me draw it out in chart form if this way did not make as much sense as the last time. So we have term number, also known as n, and then we have the term, also known as t. Okay, so my first term is 7, my second term is 10, my third term is 16, my fourth term is 16. First term, second term, third term, fourth term. All right, so where do I start? Well, I need to start with the 7, right? So as they explain it in their explanation on page 402, the terms have a common difference of 3, which we figured out right there. The difference is 3 times the difference of the term number. This suggests that t equals 3 times n. However, you need to add 4 to get the value of t. So t equals 3n plus 4. All right, so what did that mean? Well, our difference here is 3, so plus 3. So 3, and since we're doing it times the first term, times 1, how do I make that equal to 7? Well, I have to add that answer by 4. So I'm doing a little bit of mental math there, so then it's going to equal 7. So you're having to do some mental math there on your own. So let's try for the second term. So if I had 3 times now 2, because it's my second term, that's going to be 6 plus 4, that's going to be 10. All right, so my equation is 3n plus 4. All right, it'll take a little bit of practice getting used to this, but The second part of this, it wants me to find the 15th term. So n is my amount of terms. So I would just plug in 15 for n. So I'd take 3 times 15, which is 45, and then add by 4. My answer is going to be 49. 49. So 49 is the 15th term. Okay, so you'll be doing some of that when you're doing numbers 5 through 8, it looks like, or 5 through 8. Okay, so let's try example 3, our last example. Okay, so for example 3, I'm going to read the problem off for us. We are working with restaurants. So the diagram shows the number of square tables needed to seat 4, 6, or 8 people at a restaurant. How many tables are needed to seat 16 people? So first off, when I'm looking at this diagram, I need to understand what it's showing. So right here, this is table number 1. There's only one square. That means I have one table and there are 4 people sitting at it. So 4 people sitting at it. Table number 2, we have 2 tables and there are 6 people sitting there. Then we have table 3. How many people do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people sitting at a table, or at 3 tables. All right, so let's draw this out in my chart. So I'm just going to write N and F because N stands for my term number and F stands for my term. So my N is going to be 1, 2, 3 because I only have 3 tables. So for 1, it's going to be 4 because I'm taking table number 1 right there. Table number 2, 2 tables, there are 6 people. And table number 3, so when there's 3 tables, it seats 8 people. And it wants to know for 16 people. So we want to know what is the answer for 16 people. This is my end goal. All right, so first off, we need to create an equation to figure this out. So what are we increasing by? Well, we're going by just +1 every time for our tables, but for here, we are increasing by 2, +2, +2 people. Okay. One way we could do it is we could draw out a big chart to figure out what my answer is, but if we write out the equation, it's going to be a lot easier. So first off, my difference is +2, so I'm going to erase my tables up here so I can draw this. So my difference is +2, +2. So that's going to be my change, and I have to do 2 times n. 2 times n, and that's because my change is 2, and then times this n, okay? Then I need to add a number, so it's going to equal my 4. So 2 times n, if I do this problem, 2 times 1, I need to add, hang on, I'm getting a phone call. Sorry about that. We just got our tent for the covered area, so I had to go move my car. Okay, so back to where we were. I'm just gonna restart this explanation here. So we have, in our chart here, we have an increase of 2. So our common difference is +2. So our common difference is going to be 2 times n. And then I need to figure out, so if I did, in this example, 2 times 1, I need to figure out what is my unknown number for, that would be x. No, that'll just be x. So 2 times 1 is 2, equals 4, which is what my final answer is. Now I can figure out what my x needs to be, and we know that that's just going to be 2. So I'm going to have 2 times n plus 2 for my equation. So another way of trying that out. So what I need to do is plug in a number for that. Okay, so we need to figure out 16. We need to figure out 16. Okay, so my equation here, 2 times n plus 2. I need to plug in 16. How many tables are needed to seat 16 people? Oh, so I'm doing it the opposite way. So we already know that there's 16. We know that there's 16 people already, but we're solving for the tables. Solving for the tables. So we're going to do subtract by 2 to both sides. That's going to give me 14 equals 2 times n. Divide by 2 to both sides. I'm left with 7 equals n, which is my number of tables. All right, that was a tricky one. They were wanting you to go in reverse order there. You're going to have to be conscious of that when you are doing some of those examples. So when you're doing your homework, 1 through 4, those are going to be just like example 1. 5 through 8, that'll be just like example 2. Number 9, that's almost exactly like the problem that we just did here for our real world example. And then 10 through 18, that is pretty much number or example 1 on repeat. And then 19 and 20 will be very similar to example 2. All right, so that's all I have for you guys. So go ahead and you can work through that. If you need help, I will be having my office hours all week this week from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock.